So the clean house was done at Yale Rep first, and then it had maybe 4 regional productions before coming here. And Andre saw it at Yale and wanted to do it, but didn't have a spot for it until I think maybe 2 years out, a year and a half or 2 years out. And I said, great, I'll wait. You know, Lincoln Center's worth waiting for. It was challenging doing it in the round in some respects, and I think that the designer, Chris Acebo, worked around it really well. But I think comedy can be hard in the round because the audience isn't all seeing the same thing at the same time. So in terms of that kind of precision of timing, you don't get, oh, I just saw that. I mean, there's kind of a ripple effect. And the subtitles were sometimes challenging in the round. But it was a great space for it.
I will not let you clean my house just because the maid is depressed.
She's not depressed. She doesn't like to clean.
I'm interested in extreme states, sort of if funniness were pushed to its reductio ad absurdum, like to the farthest edge, could it be lethal? I mean, I think also I was saying my father died of cancer, and humor was so important in our household in terms of coping. And, you know, he was making us laugh up until the very end in this very gracious way of taking attention off of himself and deflecting. When Anna was dying, I wanted to give her the best death possible. So dying while laughing seemed like the best way. I was spoiled beyond belief to be done here so early in my career. And I was so well taken care of here. Everyone's so supportive, and there's such a respect for the work itself. And I mean, in terms of an introduction to New York theater, it was just incredible. It's called In the Next Room, or the Vibrator play, and it's about a history of the vibrator and how in the 19th century it was invented for use on women with hysteria, and doctors used it medically. And I discovered this and was just kind of shocked. I had no idea. And so the play isn't a history, but it's about that period, and it centers on a doctor who's using the vibrator on a patient, 2 patients, one male, one female, and his wife not knowing really what he does. So the physical space is set up so that there's 2 rooms side by side, one where people sit in the living room and talk about the weather, and one where people get zapped with the vibrator, and all the action is simultaneous.
Excuse me. What is it?
What is that sound? What are you doing?
Electrical therapy, my dear. A very successful session.
I wish to see it.
You would not understand. Leave me my dry, boring science, and I will give you the rest of the world. Besides, you said yourself, my electricity bored
I
you.
insist on seeing your machine now.
Are you going to force me to lock my laboratory?
I am your wife.
And happily, you are my blooming young wife, without a hint of neuroses and in no need of my experiments and inventions.
Experiment on me!
Oh, I can assure you, you would not like it.
Experiment on me!
It would be unseemly for a man of science to experiment on his own wife. I would lose my credibility. Now, would you please have the decency to be quiet while Mrs. Daughtry is in the next room?
Younger than springtime, are you?
South Pacific, I just thought was divine. I mean, it was such a romantic night at the theater, and I thought it did what theater does best. It was populist, it was emotional. I mean, that moment when the orchestra just opens up, I mean, you gasp. It's so pleasurable. And I went that night with my husband. It was like having all of the pleasure of theater return to me. You know, sometimes you get in this professional mode of, I wouldn't have cast that person, you know, but I forgot all of that, and it was just kind of magical. I also loved Joe Turner. I thought it was, you know, moving. I mean, the moment at the end when he cracks open and he's about to crucify himself, I was just in a bodily way. I mean, it still gives me chills thinking about.
I'm standing! I'm standing! My legs done stood up! I'm standing now!
Also, Seascape I saw a couple years ago, and I loved, you know, that it's one of the odder Albee plays, and that it was a risk to do on Broadway, and I love that they did it. What I love about Albee is he always is speaking to the human condition. It's not a play about X, Y, or Z. It's a play about what it is to be a person.
If you won't go in, we'll find some pretty shells. I will.
What a wealth.
Well, we make the best of it. My goodness.
Oh my God!
Charlie.
Oh my loving God!
Charlie, what are they?
Nancy, get back here! But Charlie, get back here! Get a stick!
But Charlie,
There's a real integrity here, and you know, from the casting to the design, all the way across. And I think, we'll take casting for example. I think there is a methodical, pure storytelling kind of casting often here that's not about what's the bizarre turn we could do to bring people in, what's the bizarre name we could have on the marquee to sell tickets. It's about, well, actually we need to tell the story. Who's the best person to tell the story? And that kind of methodical, probing way of dealing with people and with art, I just find across the board here. Andre, Bernie, everyone that I meet here has that sensibility.